33-member cabinet set. Investors cautioned. And Kramer is police minister.
This is National MTV News with Helen Sayer.
Good evening and thank you for joining us for Friday's news. We'll bring you our top stories a little later in the bulletin, but first there will be a drop in retail prices for fuel, diesel and kerosene right throughout Papua New Guinea. The decrease is attributed to a lowering in crude oil prices and international sea freight rates charged on these petroleum products in the month of May. For Papua New Guinea, the changes in retail prices will be in effect starting tomorrow.
The news of the decrease in fuel prices comes as a relief for PMV operators and vehicle owners, though the decrease is just a few toya less. Throughout Papua New Guinea, the maximum retail fuel prices for each petroleum product in the country will change on average as follows. Petrol prices will decrease by 10.64 toya. Diesel prices will decrease by 1.39 toya and kerosene prices to decrease by 2.65 toya. These changes will come into effect tomorrow, Saturday, the 8th of June. And ICCC has asked retail fuel distributors to ensure prices are changed. A team of investigation officers from ICCC will conduct compliance inspections in Lae, Goroka, Kokopo and Port Moresby as part of its enforcement. A statement released by ICCC Commissioner warns that no fuel pump operator should charge above the indicative retail prices as spot checks after the 8th of June to ensure ongoing compliances by fuel operators. Thekla Gunga, National MTV News.
Department of Education through the Port Moresby Technical College has partnered with Total PNG to start a new chapter in TVET training in the country. This partnership will see the Papua LNG developer sponsor students from Gulf Province to take up TVET training. The first 40 students identified have been urged to make use of the opportunity.
A memorandum of understanding was signed today at Port Moresby Technical College to start this partnership. The MOU paves way for Total as the developer of Papua LNG project to start a program to develop the workforce for the second LNG project. And through this scholarship program, students from Gulf Province will be able to take up TVET training at Port Moresby Technical College.
So we are very pleased to be able to give this opportunity to youngsters from the Gulf province, from nearby our project, to develop their skills. Some of them might become part of the pool of people that we will need to build our project, but we are still quite a few years before actual construction starts. So our purpose is to progressively build a pool of young people.
Through this partnership, Total PNG will be working closely with the Department of Higher Education to make this scholarship program possible for the students. According to Total PNG Managing Director, a search has been conducted for recent grade 12 leavers in all secondary schools in Gulf Province, and after conducting numeracy and literacy tests, plus short interviews and medical examinations on the eligible school leavers, first batch of 40 students have been selected.
The first program, we are about to sign also another memorandum of understanding with DHERS, Department of Higher Education, to try to expand it a bit and contribute also to developing facilities, bringing other kind of supports.
This is the first time Total have stepped in to assist students from Gulf Province. A total of 208,000 kina was provided by Total for this scholarship program.
POMTEC is the first technical college in the country, and we hope that Total or any other company for that matter will also go further to do the similar sort of approach to sponsor students in their area where they actually exist.
The Deputy Secretary thanked Total for this partnership and encouraged all students under the scholarship program to make use of this opportunity. Rayon Lakingu, National MTV News.
This is National MTV News. Stay with us. We'll bring you more of the day's stories after the break. Welcome back. With petroleum companies calling on the new government to be investor-friendly and to honour the deals made by previous O'Neill-Abel government, Prime Minister James Marape today reiterated his stance on ensuring PNG comes first in the deals. With that, he has appointed National Party leader Karen Gakua as the petroleum minister, stating he needed someone who had the same opinion he had on the resource sector. The new petroleum minister responded after being sworn in that the Prime Minister's statement on ensuring PNG benefits from its resources will be the guiding light as he takes on the ministry.
Prime Minister James Marape, when announcing the petroleum portfolio, made it clear that his government would be investor-friendly, but with the interest of PNG first. The Prime Minister taking the stance after the Oil Search Managing Directors in a media statement asked the PM to be investor-friendly.
Media conveyed to me, I am not in the business of harming our investors in the country. Our investors in the country and our partner investors, ExxonMobil, Oil Search, Total, Santos, Nippon Oil, they've been with us for a long time. But we're in the business of now consolidating on the investment here, as well as attracting new investors into our country. We're all about attracting foreign investments. But as I speak, I want to pick, firstly, the lowest hanging fruits for my economy and my country, as well as gearing up on improving in areas of domestic market obligations, in areas of local content, in areas of greater equity participation. We are tired of being rent collectors, and sometimes down the line, whether it's 2025 or 2023 or 2022, basing on advice from the Petroleum Department and the new minister, we will be making regime shifts that are also friendly to the investor, but also friendlier to our country in contributing to making sure the economy has residual or if not greater benefit from the petroleum sector also. And I make no apologies to anyone. I make no apologies to anyone for this instance. You don't like the way I'm speaking? Pack up and leave.
The newly appointed Petroleum Minister Karen Gakua stating that with the dealing of the Papua LNG, the PM statement will be the guiding statement as they look at each stakeholder interest.
Is that he wishes to see an increase in the benefits that goes towards Papua New Guinea and Papua New Guineans in these major resource projects. So that, as to what shape and form it takes, is a matter that will be the subject of discourses between and dialogue between all stakeholders, the people and the government, and we'll come to a position that everybody is comfortable with without disrupting business, but ensuring that there's equitable distribution of the benefits that come out of these resource projects.
While international investors are being cautioned, domestically, the issue of clan vetting has become an issue associated with the petroleum industry. Minister Kua stating it is a legacy issue caused by allowing development of projects to take place before clan vetting.
It's a very sticky, for me, coming in from the outside, and without being properly briefed by the departmental secretary and his staff and all that, it's a very messy environment that really needed to be cleared up at the earliest opportunity. And I'm looking forward to working with all the stakeholders to make sure that we open up all the pathways, come to a conclusion, make the necessary decisions, whether good or bad. We must move on with life. So any decisions that needed to be made about the identity of the landowners needed to be made, and we move ahead.
While Minister Kua describes the issue as a sticky situation, his plan is to first look at all clan vetting cases before court.
We will look at, for example, any outstanding court challenges and look at how those court proceedings can be fast-tracked or accommodated as we move other aspects of it forward, etc. These are matters that I will be properly briefed in the next few days.
Patricia Chiamo, National MTV News.
Madang MP Bryan Kramer is the new Minister for Police, the only new minister to be met with shouts of support when signing his oath of office at Government House today. Mr. Kramer was modestly realistic about his new role. And while he will continue his presence on social media, something many in the House have acknowledged him for, he says he will be also using it as a tool in his capacity as minister to strengthen trust and credibility in the force.
Function of the police minister is policy, so ensuring that the government funds policing in terms of how the police force functions, in terms of its administration, in terms of its capacity building, reform. It has enough fuel, they have enough vehicles, there's the degree of discipline. We don't have the powers to discipline, but in terms of who that commissioner, so guide him or provide some degree of advice to him that he will uphold the rule of law. Everyone will be subject to the rule of law. I intend to run a social media program where people can get in touch with me directly to raise any concerns that they have in relation to the force. Then I will take that complaint, consider it, and if it is justified, then bring it directly to the attention of the police commissioner and says, these complaints have come to my office, I'm now bringing it to you to lodge a complaint for you to look into the issue. And if they confirm that the complaints are justified, then to take appropriate action according to the law.
Government House was the centre of attention for many Papua New Guineans today as Prime Minister James Marape revealed the makeup of the new National Executive Council. Following on from his State of the Nation address, the Prime Minister announced the full makeup of his 33-member cabinet, which included 2 MPs who did not vote for him when he was elected Prime Minister 8 days ago.
It was a morning of anticipation for many around the country, with all eyes on Government House for the announcement and swearing in of the full National Executive Council under the Prime Ministership of James Marape. The proceedings began just after midday with the announcement and swearing in of the Deputy Prime Minister.
I, Stephen, promise and declare that I will well and truly serve the independent state of Papua New Guinea.
Member for Esa Ala and People's Party member Davis Stephen was announced as the Deputy Prime Minister. He takes on this added responsibility in addition to his appointment as Minister for Justice and Attorney General. He is a member of the People's Party, which has been rewarded for their support to the Prime Minister. According to the Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister Stephen will be tasked to spearhead efforts to strengthen the rule of law and justice systems.
He's a member of the People's Party, very, very strong foundation and strong coalition partner in the arrangements we put in place. He is the Deputy Prime Minister of our country, and as I said in my speech 2 or 3 days ago, the Deputy Prime Minister will preside over the social sector. Our country's need for reconstruction, need for rehabilitation, need for redevelopment is so huge that we can never underestimate the need for collective effort.
Following the appointment and swearing in of the Deputy Prime Minister, the rest of the ministers were announced and took their oaths. Joseph Yopi, Minister for Education; Lekwa Gure, Minister for Civil Aviation; Wera Mori for Commerce and Industry; Rainbow Paita for Communications and Energy; Wake Goi for Community Development, Youth and Religion; Chris Nangoi for Correctional Service; Saki Soloma, Minister for Defence; Soroi Ewe, Minister for Foreign Affairs and International Trade; Jeffrey Kama, Minister for Environment, Conservation and Climate Change; Dr. Lino Tom, Minister for Fisheries and Marine Resources; Sepuka Temu, Minister for Bougainville Affairs; Minister Elias Kapavore, Minister for Health, HIV and AIDS; Minister Nick Kuman, Minister responsible for Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology; Justin Chechenko, Minister for Housing and Urban Development; Petrus Thomas, Immigration and Border Security; Pilani Ningi, Intergovernment Relations; Alfred Manasseh, Labour and Industrial Relations; John Simon, Agriculture and Livestock; John Rosso, Lands and Physical Planning, Kirenga Kua, appointed as Minister for Petroleum, Bryan Kramer, Minister for Police, Sasindran Mutuvel, Minister for State Enterprise, Wesley Nukunj, Minister for Public Service, Emil Tamur, Minister for Tourism, Arts and Culture, and William Sam, appointed Minister for Transport and Infrastructure. They join Sam Basil, Minister for Treasury, Charles Abel, Finance and Rural Development, Richard Maru, National Planning and Implementation, Michael Nally, Works Minister, Solan Merisim, Minister for Forestry, and Johnson Tuke, Mining Minister, who were appointed as caretaker ministers last week. Ministers Kwa and Kramer appointed despite not voting for Marape during his election on the floor of Parliament. Two major parties, National Alliance and United Resource Party, did not have its members appointed to cabinet, which, according to the Prime Minister, was their choice after close consultations, both with government caucus and within their own parties.
You know, the cabinet is, as you see today, I've struggled to put some ministers who are supposed to be inside. We've given them an opportunity. For instance, some we said, you know, there's 1 or 2 spots available. They felt they need 4 or 5. And so unfortunately we can't squeeze in 4 or 5 and they're in cabinet. But look, we will respect them. We will respect them wherever they are. I've passed word to the Honourable Patrick Price that we as government will give our support to opposition. We want a functional opposition. We're not only about depleting members from the other side. A functional opposition is good for a robust democracy.
Merabatulo, National MTV News.
You're watching Friday's News. We'll take a look at stories making headlines overseas when we come back. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. Following reports of funding delays for the Bougainville referendum, the British High Commission announced support in the form of £95,000, equivalent to 400,000 kina. Meanwhile, the national government has also released 20 million kina to the Bougainville Referendum Commission to carry out its work. Funding from the British government was made known on Wednesday this week during a reception to mark the Queen's birthday.
Lasting peace.
In response to reports of a funding shortfall for the Bougainville referendum, British High Commissioner to PNG Keith Scott announced that they are providing over 400,000 kina to support the Bougainville referendum.
The BRC has prepared a preliminary referendum budget which calls for about 45 million kina. On the other hand, the national government has pledged 30 million kina, so this means that there is roughly a funding gap for the BRC alone of about 15 million kina.
The Bougainville Referendum Commission's preliminary budget amounts to 45 million kina. This is exclusively for the BRC. For other areas preparing towards the referendum, like the Bougainville Police Service, requires their own budget funding.
We're sharing our expertise in conflict resolution from Northern Ireland, for example, to support the peace process in Bougainville. I'm delighted to announce tonight that we're providing £95,000, that's over 400,000 kina, for the United Nations Bougainville Referendum Support Project.
Meanwhile, the Department of Finance has confirmed the release of 20 million kina funding for the referendum, the full budgeted amount in the 2019 national budget for the referendum. Patricia Chiamo, National MTV News.
Cop College hosted the Math and Science quiz competition today. 5 schools showed up to compete. However, as all competitions play out, there is only one winner.
Over 200 students gathered at Cop College for the inter-school quiz competition. The 5 competing schools had participants competing in 3 different divisions: lower secondary, which is grades 7 and 8, middle secondary, grades 9 and 10, and upper secondary 11 and 12.
In the planning stage of this event, we invited all the schools in NCD to be a part of this program, or to be a part of this competition with that perspective, building relationships with schools, the positive relationships, to discourage all the social behaviors that happen outside of school fences.
This is the second time Cop College is hosting such an event, incorporating different schools around NCD. This year's theme was Active Minds for Dynamic Nation Building through Mathematics and Science. Chairman of the Inter-School Initiative, Mr. Tebegetu, explained why the theme was so important to the competition.
We have so much happening in Papua New Guinea with development and such, and we need technical people. And with the concept of STEM, science, technology, engineering and mathematics, based on that, we have decided to come up with this initiative to help develop students, and especially mathematics and science is the basis for that.
The schools that participated were Port Moresby National High School, Port Moresby International School, Charles Lawanga, Carr Memorial, and Cop College.
I think it gives the students more confidence to go up on stage and to compete with other schools in front of a crowd.
I hope Cop hosts more competitions like this because it's a good way to interact with other schools and also building bonds.
The winners for lower secondary was Port Moresby International School. Cop College won the middle secondary division, and Port Moresby National High School took out the upper secondary award. Lilian Sopera Kenea, National MTV News.
Turning overseas now, Samoa is planning a large-scale Chinese-funded port worth hundreds of millions of dollars. There's concern over China's growing influence in the region, with worries it may set up a military base. But Samoa says a port is crucial for its development.
Samoa has big plans for this tiny bay, a huge Chinese-funded port with space for cruise ships, another area for container ships, and even fishing vessels would have their own dock.
I cannot overemphasize the benefits to this nation.
Japan turned down funding this ambitious plan, but now China has indicated it will pay for it, pending the final feasibility study. One News understands the cost would be around US $300 million. That's nearly $500 million New Zealand dollars. If it goes ahead, it will be one of the Pacific's biggest ever project commitments from China. Concern is mounting in the region over China's growing influence and its ambition to have a military base in the Pacific.
We never understand how this military garbage creeps in. I always admire the Chinese for responding to our calls.
A just-released New Zealand cabinet paper says strategic competition in the region has heightened since February. Foreign Minister Winston Peters is currently in Vanuatu looking at aid projects, including one at this Port Vila wharf, but it's small change compared to what Samoa hopes China can deliver.
It will be massively huge for Samoa's needs for the next 200 years. The Samoan government is a sovereign nation. We are working in partnership with them. We don't tell them what to do.
A large-scale Chinese-funded port will be a serious concern for Western powers, but the Samoan government is adamant a new port is crucial, as it says the current one is too small and in the wrong location at the mercy of often heavy swells.
From the viewpoint of tourism as well as trade, it's time to build the wharf now.
All eyes are now turned to China and whether a large-scale port will come with strings attached.
Thank you. That's the overwhelming sentiment echoed across the beaches of northern France as the D-Day landings were remembered 75 years on. It was one of the most momentous operations in military history, combining Commonwealth forces with their American counterparts.
Silence at sunrise at the beaches that were anything but silent this time 75 years ago. At 7:25 a.m, a lone piper marking the exact moment British forces stormed ashore. Commemorative events were held across northern France, paying tribute to and attended by those who truly remember.
These young men belonged to a very special generation, the greatest generation. A generation whose unconquerable spirit shaped our post-war world.
None of them wanted to be part of another war. But when the test came, when freedom had to be fought for or abandoned, they fought.
In Bayeux, the first city the Allied forces took back on D-Day, a parade welcoming back the liberators.
It's been overwhelming
overwhelming, I found.
In the cathedral, royalty remembering those who never returned. At the US cemetery, America's president gave his thanks to those who did.
You are the pride of our nation. You are the glory of our republic.
We know what we owe to you veterans, our freedom.
Remembrance in the UK today too,
Very nice to see you.
including on the HMS Belfast, a centrepiece of the D-Day campaign. On board, the day's logbook, out from the archives.
It's back where it was completed.
Documenting the warship's D-Day story.
We can see that just before 5:30 in the morning, Belfast opens fire with a full broadside.
The HMS Belfast was supposed to be the first ship to open fire, but another ship stole its thunder. It became the second to start shelling. Its job to target German gun emplacements.
Blind veterans on board, recounting their memories.
So you served with some Kiwis?
Well, of course. Yes, but all right.
With most of the veterans now in their 90s, this could be the last time they get to remember their mates. It's now up to the generations they fought for to ensure they're never forgotten.
3 months ago, renegade Libyan General Khalifa Haftar and his Libyan National Army launched a major military offensive to take the capital and topple the UN-recognized government. The battle has now reached Tripoli's doorstep, but that's as far as it's gone, both sides locked in a stalemate.
Battle rages on the outskirts of Tripoli, the Libyan capital. Since early April, fighters loyal to the UN-backed Government National Accord have struggled to stop the advance of warlord Khalifa Haftar's so-called Libyan National Army, which now nominally controls most of the country and almost all its oil. It's a conflict with sound and fury aplenty, captured in footage provided to CNN by freelance cameraman Gabriel Shahin. As factions fight it out, civilians are, as usual, caught in the middle. Nasser Wahed is one of the last civilians left in his neighborhood of Yarmouk, south of Tripoli. We're afraid, of course, he says, but what choice do we have? He says he's happy just to live one day to the next. His son, Mu'tasim, should be in 3rd grade, but all his friends have fled and schools have been closed for weeks. Children's toys still clutter a house, now used by gunmen. The jubilation with which Libyans greeted the fall of Muammar Gaddafi's regime 8 years ago now seems a distant memory. The country is hopelessly divided, with France, Russia, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates and Egypt backing Haftar's Benghazi-based group, and the U.S. now leaning in his direction as well. While officially the UN recognizes the Tripoli-based government, which is backed by Italy. The most recent outbreak of violence has left more than 600 dead and nearly 100,000 displaced. The future, says this young fighter, is miserable. Since we were young, there has only been war. UN-led attempts to restore calm are in tatters. Misery does indeed appear to be Libya's future.
You're at Friday's News. Coming up next, some sporting updates in Choc Ice Sports. Don't go away.
Choc Ice Sports.
Welcome to Choc Ice Sports. The KTH Teletubbies rugby team, previously known as Telecom Teletubbies, received new jerseys and other sporting gear from Telecom today worth 11,000 kina. The annual Fistports Charity Rugby 10s tournament is an annual event that sees ex-rugby players come together to play rugby and raise funds. KTH Teletubbies joined the charity rugby tournament in 2017 and are the defending champions for 2017 and 2018.
Fee Sports is a charitable event organized by like-minded individuals who come together to play rugby tens every year and revisit their glory days to raise funds for charities that are usually not on the receiving end. Last year's funds raised went towards the awareness of prostate cancer in Papua New Guinea. One team that's actively participating in the tournament since 2017 is the KTH Teletubbies, who received a sponsorship from KTH Today and a telecom worth 11,000 kina for this year's tournament of Fee Sports Rugby. This is not the first time Telecom has come on board to support charitable events, as they have supported other charities in the past.
The Fee Sports competition raises money to finance and support prostate cancer in Papua New Guinea. So we're all very proud to be part of that. In our own bid, we're also contributing to supporting the community in the sponsorship.
KTH Teletubbies, who are the defending champions of 2018, joined Fee Sports in 2017 and ended up winning the finals. Team captain of KTH Teletubbies, Alphonse Stevens, says the event is one way to socialize and create contacts between corporate houses. He says 2019 is a challenging year for the team as they look forward to defending their back-to-back titles.
2019 will be a challengeable one in terms of team that we won were Australian Defence, in a sense that we went to grand final with. This year, teams that took part in 2018, they have prepared well. They had in terms of their training and programs and stuff. Telecom, yes, we have done our training in terms of, and I would appreciate in terms of our team manager is Jana to put this program together for us.
Fee Sports representative David Kumul says the tournament is a flagship event that is run annually.
The tournament, the Fee Sports Rugby Tens tournament, is our flagship tournament fundraising, charity fundraiser in Papua New Guinea. We have other tournaments which we run, like lawn bowls and even golfing.
KTH Teletubbies will go into training next week before the start of the tournament on 20th of July. Godwin Eki, National MTV Sports.
To Rugby League, Glenn Nami and Roderick Puname have been brought into the PNG Hunters camp as assistant coaches. Nami and Puname will be with the team till the end of the season.
Both coaches were picked from the Intercity Cup competition. Glenn Nami joined from the Mandy Moruks and Roderick Puname from the Hela Wigmen. Nami and Puname hope to contribute to the team and help build the club towards the back end of the season.
But I'm happy to work under Coach Michael Marape. I've been with him for some time, and I'm happy to come back and be with the team again. And hopefully I can contribute, contribute positively to the team and help this team to grow.
Both coaches assist Michael Marum and have provided support since joining the team.
I'm helping Coach Mike on everything he's doing. Everything we do is putting the team first, interest of the team, and everything that's been happening in the team. So I'm happy to contribute where I can. We know it's tough times for us at the moment, but things don't work overnight, and we know it will definitely take us time to build a good team. So
the training schedule is usually split between Puname and Nami at every session.
Roderick is someone he's done well for at that level, the Digital Cup. He's a good player as well in his time, and we're working with Coach Michael Marum. We're splitting sessions at the moment, and we're dividing ourselves up and contributing where we can, helping out.
They have been welcomed into the team and hope to make a difference in the club with 11 games left to play. Elijah Levet, National MTV Sports.
To East New Britain Province, the Pacific Industries Go-Go Cola bicycle race is scheduled to take place on the Queen's birthday public holiday. Over 200 enthusiastic cyclists of all age groups are expected to turn up next Monday to take part in the event. Although the competitors may turn up in large numbers, only a few will make it through to the finish line. The main highlight of the day will be the 33-kilometer senior men and women's race from Kokopo to Rabaul town. The 2 hours journey on bicycles from Kokopo to Rabaul is one long journey that will cast pain and stress on the cyclists. The bicycle race remains a major community event in East New Britain Province that occurs yearly on the Queen's birthday public holiday. Choc Ice Sports continues with more after the break. Stay with us.
Choc Ice Sports.
Welcome back to Choc Ice Sports. The media pool competition will see the cue-off of its 2019 season at Lamana Hotel this week, Saturday. A total of 24 teams have registered their interest to take part in this year's pools competition.
The media pool competition for this year has gathered interest from 24 teams, with some from previous years making a comeback. Newly elected chairman Kepson Pundu said a major naming rights sponsor will be announced in the coming weeks. Lamana Hotel has come on board once again to partner with MPC to deliver the competition in 2019.
Lamana will be re-entering a team again, hopefully one or two teams. They are the host, and we expect at least 2 teams from them, Lamana and Famagusta. And the other teams, the originals team, they indicated to come back, join the comp. And for last year, we had about 20 teams. This year, we're expecting about 24, which will be an increase.
Pundu confirmed that this weekend would only have the pre-season for teams to fine-tune themselves before the proper season starts.
The pre-season will start this coming Saturday, and then hopefully for the next 2 weeks. And the season proper, we will start on the 22nd of June 2019.
MPC Secretary Dr. Sam Yokopua stressed on the registration fees for this year and urged all participating teams to meet the requirements before the competition cues off on June 22nd.
The pre-season will go on for 2 weeks, and then after that another 3 weeks given time for teams to pay up their registration of 1,500 kina, player registration of 20 kina each, and the uniforms. So when we start the season proper, we'll be given another 3 weeks. And so we're looking at good competition this year.
Mr. Pundu also paid tribute to outgoing chairman Tony Sipa, who was at the helm of MPC for the past 3 years. Freli Sukina National, EMTV Sports.
West Indies cricketers have slammed Kiwi umpire Chris Gaffney at the World Cup over what they call a series of dodgy decisions in a loss to Australia. One big blunder spelling the end of the Windies' most dangerous batsman in a match they lost by just 15 runs.
As if beating Australia at a World Cup isn't hard enough, the West Indies may well feel hard done by after a number of crucial calls went against them. None more so than for Chris Gale, who felt the full wrath of the Kiwi umpire. The West Indian powerhouse using the review system to overturn incorrect calls by Chris Gaffney, not once, where he was wrongly dismissed for being caught behind, or twice for leg before wicket.
How does this look? He's being given.
Impact is outside, Chris, and missing the stumps.
But 3 times before eventually having to walk off, and even then in controversial circumstances.
There's a no ball, the ball before, which meant that the dismissal delivery should have been a free hit.
I saw it on the screen in the dressing room, and I just laughed, man. I couldn't believe it.
Maybe Holder believed it when he was forced to review 2 wrong leg before calls by Gaffney's partner at the other end, with Windies great Michael Holding not holding back in the commentary box.
This has been an atrocious bit of umpiring by both.
But despite some glaring errors by the umpires, the Windies made plenty of their own, and only have themselves to blame for not backing up their strong showing with the ball, where they held Australia to under 300. In a game that's being dissected for its numerous errors, there was one stunning piece of fielding by Sheldon Cottrell, throwing his name into the mix for catch of the tournament.
That is brilliant. That is outstanding from Sheldon Cottrell.
What an absolute ripper that is. How does he not go over?
And in case you were wondering, that one wasn't a no ball.
An American teenager given a big break in Auckland at the start of the year has stormed into the French Tennis Open semi-finals. Amanda Anisimova is hoping to emulate her idol. That would be the controversial Maria Sharapova and win her maiden Grand Slam at just 17. But first, she has to get past a former Australian tennis prodigy.
Life was literally a beach for Amanda Anisimova in Auckland 6 months ago. Handed a wild card for the first WTA event of the year and the perks that went with it. The rangy youngster justified that faith by reaching the quarter-finals. Fast forward to the quarters at Roland Garros, where the now world number 51 of Russian heritage was looking to overpower the defending Paris champion Simona Halep. The teenager's from the same area of New Jersey as Bruce Springsteen and was hitting all the right notes as she bossed the former top-ranked player in the world, taking the first set 6-2. Anisimova eventually wants to become a surgeon, but after her dissection of Halep, she can put that on hold, breezing into the semi-finals in straight sets.
Remember the name, as you are likely going to hear it a lot more in the coming years. Amanda Anisimova.
I knew if I wanted to win today, I had to do something different because this wasn't going to be an easy match to win.
The youngest player to reach the last four in Paris since Martina Hingis 22 years ago will now face Australian Indigenous player Ash Barty, the former age-grade star who found the pressures of tennis too much and switched to cricket, playing in the first ever Women's Big Bash match. The 8th seed's comeback has gone so well, the 23-year-old's now the top-ranked Aussie player, male or female, and she dispatched American Madison Keys to reach the last four. Their semi-final's been shifted to the show court as event organisers play catch-up after rain earlier in the week.
And that's a wrap for Choc Ice Sports. Up next, the weather forecast for the next 24 hours.
Choc Ice Sports. Choc Ice Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by Money Plus. With you always.
A look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in the southern region. Fine, although cloudy in Port Moresby, mostly fine in Daru, Kerema and Alatau, a shower or two in Popondita. In the Mamasa region, cloudy in Lae, cloudy with some showers in Wau, Madang and Wewak, and showers in Vanimo. In the New Guinea Islands region, rain and thunderstorms in Lorengau, few showers in Kavieng, cloudy with some showers in Kokoporobau, Kimbe and Buka. And in the Highlands region, fine weather, although cloudy in Mount Hagen, fine with morning fog in Goroka and Kundiawa, rain drizzles and morning fog in Madang, Mendi and Huabeg. Forecast for small ships for the next 24 hours. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Island to Kerema to Yule Island to Hood Point, Aroma Coast to Samarai Island, and with waters of Finchafen through Vitiaz and Dampier Straits to Siasi Islands and Long Island, seas of 2.5 to 3.5 meters. Waters of eastern and western Milne Bay Islands with waters of Samarai Island to Cape Fogo to Finchafen, including waters of Long Island to Medang to Bogia to Wewak to Aitape and Vanimo, with northern PNG Indonesian border, including waters of Manus and its western group of islands, with waters of West New Britain and Bougainville, seas of 2.5 to 3 meters. Waters of New Ireland to East New Britain and Bougainville, seas of 0.5 to 1.5 meters. A look at the ocean forecast for PNG areas in the Coral Sea sees rough to very high seas with southeast winds at 34 to 48 knots. In the Solomon Sea sees rough to high seas with southeast winds at 25 to 34 knots. In the Bismarck Sea sees moderate to very high seas with southeast winds at 34 to 48 knots. And in the Pacific Ocean sees slight with east to southeast winds at 10 to 20 knots.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by Money Plus. With you always.
And that's been the news, sport and weather for Friday, the 7th of June 2019. From the entire MTV News team, pleasant viewing. Good night.